Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get right to it. Now, this video is going to be revisiting an earlier video I did a few weeks ago. If you recall, a few weeks ago, I did a video over Donald Trump and his plans to change food stamps. And it got a rather big set of views, I suppose. I got quite a big response. Most comments I've ever had on a video, really, stemmed from this video. So I figured I would go through and talk about what some things that have happened since then, what people have said. I thought I would go through talk about some of the comments. I'm not going to call out anybody directly, but I'll talk about some of the comments I saw. I want to talk about what some economists have said, as well as some other problems that this idea may have. And the idea is pretty simple. But we'll get to that later. First off, some of the comments. So a lot of the comments I saw were, "Get off your ass, you lazy bum. Get a job, you lazy bum. Why don't you work, you lazy bum?" Well, let's put it this way. One, I'm not on Snap. I was on Snap. I'm not anymore. We had a few problems that caused us to need help with food. I had a doctor tell me that if I kept eating soup in a cup, I'd be dead within the year. So, guess what? I had to go on Snap in order to survive, in order to live. Because I am a disabled individual who requires help at home if my wife or somebody is out working. So, for a little while, my wife didn't have a job because she was having to take care of me. I finally was able to obtain more hours, therefore my wife was able to go to work. So to anyone wanting to sit there and hate on me or my family for having to use the SNAP program, you can bite me. It's as simple as that. Because we used it, because we needed it. I was told by a doctor I'd probably be dead within the year if I kept eating the way I was, as I was feeding 2 people on $50 a month. My blood pressure was extremely high. My weight gain had exploded. And guess what? It was all because of soup in a cup. Soup in a cup is full of carbs and salt. You know, carbs, add fat. Salt makes you bloat. So I was having some major health problems. And I went on food stamps, and guess what? A lot of that went away. But yeah, I was on food stamps for a while, and I see that down in the comments, people hating on me for that. And I feel I have no shame on that. I needed help. You know how much money my family's paid in taxes that they'll never see? So yeah, I got some help. We got a hand up, and guess what? We're off the program now. And my health is much better for it. If it wasn't for the SNAP program, I probably would have been dead years ago, and I'm not. I'm able to sit here and keep kicking as much as it drives me crazy to be a disabled American who can't get a job. But that's why I'm here on YouTube, trying to make a buck, trying to not have to deal with government assistance. Because I can't get a job anywhere. My health needs prevent me at this point from getting a job outside of my house. And that's not a cop-out. That's not a lie. That's not a joke. It's a fact at this current juncture. I have some medical issues going on that prevent me from doing a lot of things that I love to do right now. At this point, I can sit here in front of this camera, in front of my computer, and say something about it. Say stuff about different issues and stuff. So me getting a job has been very difficult. My wife has a job, and guess what? We're not on food stamps anymore. My wife has a college degree. She's able to get a job. She works. We buy our own food now. So you can lay off on that. But keep hating if you want, because every one of the haters that came to comment left me a view. And my viewership, my watch minutes are insane on those views. So obviously, I struck a chord on that. So if you want to keep hating on me, that's fine. I can take it. I don't care. But let's go through a few facts, shall we? First off, most people that are on SNAP are elderly or disabled. Those are the main people that use the SNAP program. Now, there are people that are able-bodied that use SNAP. Most of them have children. But we're going to take those people and we're going to put them to the side. The people that are disabled, elderly, or have children that they're having to feed. We will take that out of the equation right now. For those people that are able-bodied, don't have children, and don't have any kind of dependents at home, most of them are required to work. In most states, they are required to work unless the state has a waiver to allow them to not require it. Very few states have that waiver. So most people have to work or be actively seeking work. And they breathe down your neck the entire time that you're trying to find work. So it's a myth to believe that everybody on food stamps is just a lazy bum. Are there people that are violating the system, abusing the system? Yes. But most people that are on the program are not. There's maybe a 3% rate of abuse that we have found so far through all the studies they've done of the food stamp program. Also, the amount of money we spend on the SNAP program it's insignificant almost to the greater part of the budget. It's only about 8% of our overall $1 trillion budget. It's not a huge amount. It's a huge amount to you and me, but as far as our government expenditures, it's actually relatively cheap. And it actually helps with a lot of things, which we'll discuss in just a minute. But it goes to show you how much people don't understand the system. It's like people that aren't on it or have never been on it and have no clue how it actually works want to sit here and harass me and other people who needed help without understanding how it works. They look at every piece of information that you possibly have financially. They are in your bank account for the duration of the time that you're on the program. They're able to see everything you buy. And I completely understand. I completely understand wanting to make sure that people aren't getting money into their bank accounts from other places. So, I get some of it. And I understand that people are upset that some people do get away with being able-bodied and lazy and not work and get food stamps. The problem is most people don't get that much in food stamps. On average, a couple might be able to pull somewhere between $130 to $175 a month. A couple without children, that is. Now, because of my rent needs and the expenses that I had and the low amount of income, we got a little bit more. And that subsequently, as we started doing better, that came down. And finally, I called it off and said no more. But the fact is that a lot of people have a lot of misunderstandings here. Now, let's look at the nutrition part here. What kind of nutrition do you think you're going to get out of a box that you can't eat the food? The thing with SNAP, it's about nutrition. It's supposed to be making people healthier because healthier people are generally able to get healthy and go to work. Okay, if you're able-bodied and you're able to eat somewhat healthy foods, you can get back out there, you can work, and if, say, a medical reason caused it, sometimes you can get yourself back on track through good nutrition. And that's what the SNAP program is supposed to be about. That's what it's supposed to do. And that's what it has done for years since it was instituted. So you think about it think of it this way. Without proper nutrition, people aren't going to be able to go to work. They're going to have a hard time looking for work. They're also going to have to go on Medicaid or Medicare or some kind of government assistance to seek health care. And if you're eating something like soup in a cup every single day, or that's all you can afford, you're going to get fatter. Your blood pressure is going to go up. You're going to bloat. And it's going to make you sick. It's actually going to hurt you. And some of those medications to fix some of the things that it can cause are permanent. I have some side effects from a blood pressure medication I took. And I'm still dealing with it today. Because some of those side effects don't go away. So, there's that. But the whole concept of SNAP is to help nutrition. If you want people to feel healthy enough to be able to go get a job, they have to be able to eat healthy enough to not feel sick all the time. So a little help isn't that big of a deal. Now there are some changes to the program that I think need to happen. There are a lot of changes to the program that I think need to happen. Some of which, I was guilty of a few times where I didn't spend my own money on things like a soda. But it wasn't like I used my food stamp money to buy soda very often. It did happen. Most of the time it didn't. Most of the time I paid that out of what little cash I had if I bought a soda. But I believe sodas, ice cream, candy bars, junk food in general, shouldn't be allowed necessarily. Now I can understand, to fill out a kid's lunch, allowing, some kind of potato chip maybe. But candy, ice cream, and soda, I don't think should be allowed on the program. As someone who has been on the program, I don't believe that should be allowed on the program. One, it wastes money. And two, it doesn't help you with your nutrition. And I've had people in the past, they got mad at me for that view. They're like, well, you're going to make people tell their kids they can't have dessert? Yeah, I am. Because as a kid, sometimes I didn't get dessert. Sometimes we were so poor, we never got dessert. And we weren't even on food stamps. Okay? So I went through a good portion of my life being poor. Being broke. And so, I understand how that is, especially as a kid. And my mom put everything she could to put food on the table. And guess what? She succeeded. We ended up not needing food stamps. We got some help from some family occasionally. But we didn't hate on it. We didn't get hated on for needing help by our family. We didn't qualify for food stamps because my mom had been working making too much money, right, up to the point that we actually no longer had money. And so my mom did a good job. She made sure there was food on the table. Sure, there may not have been a gallon of ice cream a half gallon of Bluebell sitting in the freezer. There may not have been some Snicker bars sitting out on the counter anywhere, or anything to snack on. But you know what? We made it through. And I think that needs to happen because there was a point when SNAP did not allow such things. Also, when it comes to the food that's being offered, I saw some of you mention, oh, these people are getting shrimp and steak and all this stuff. And yeah, it's true. Some people do get steaks on food stamps. Of course, most people that are getting steak on food stamps, one, are getting low quality steak that runs about $1 a pound, or they're very thin. And that's generally what the people that are getting steak get. Now, aside from that, what I will tell you, as someone that's been on the program before, if you splurge on something like a nice ribeye steak, that means you're not eating later in the month. I learned that from my own stupidity and my own mistake. We were hungry. We hadn't had a steak in probably 2 years. And so we bought it. We for one special day, my wife and I splurged. And guess what? That hurt us down the road. Later on that month, we were sitting there having to ask friends for help with food. Or at least came close to it. I'm a pretty frugal person. I found our way through it. We found our way through it. I had a friend that all paid for some meals during that time. But that's generally how it works, and you learn. If you make that mistake, you learn very quickly that you can't make splurges. You have to sit there and take that money and budget it out to the nth degree to make sure that you have food at the end of the month. So to sit there and say that people getting steak and shrimp every time they go to food stamps is a lie. Okay, it's a blatant lie. There are people that do get food stamps. Okay, and you see carts full of food. But if you see somebody pulling off $300 or $400 in groceries, that means they have children. Okay? That means they have more than just them, or more than just them and their spouse living in that home. I should know, because my wife and I got the max that the state of Texas allowed, and it never eked up to $300. In fact, after we got our food stamps, it was continually cut every few months because of changes in Congress. Lastly, or one of the last things anyway, the economics of it. There was a study done by the LA Times, or a poll done of, alright, it wasn't by the LA Times, it was in the LA Times, done by the University of Chicago, of some of the top economists in the country, ranging from extreme right-wingers to extreme left-wingers. And it found out, the study finds that most agree, minus about just a few of them, agree that this would be catastrophic for our economy. Because people would stop buying food as much, they'd stop going to the stores as much, and so it would hurt companies, it would hurt stores. And people are like, well, the stores would just lower their prices. But that's not how it works. Because trucking costs are still high. Importing food still costs money. Electricity prices have gone up across the country. So stores like Walmart would suffer. Target would suffer. Why would they suffer? Because people would stop being at their stores often. Now, I can understand. I can understand the government not wanting, say, Walmart to be able to collect the money that they get from food stamps. Because Walmart does have a history of low wages, which they are trying to fix. That, again, I know because my wife works at Walmart, and her pay has been increased, and they're doing a lot better on base pay. I think it's good. It's a good thing. But I could see how the government would have a problem, maybe, with some companies, because they make a lot of money off the government. But it also stabilizes the economy, because if all of a sudden a bunch of people can't buy food or don't go to buy food, don't go to the grocery store to buy food, stores will start closing. And then if they start closing, that means they have to start laying people off, people being laid off. That means more stores close around the area that they're in. So it's necessary to be able for people to be able to go to the store and buy food. That people need to be able to eat. And stores need to be able to stay open so people can have jobs to go to. So it's an economic issue as well. So you can sit there and complain about it all you want, but economically it makes sense for these people to be able to go to the store and buy food. Lastly, the very last thing I want to talk about is the effect on spending. Yes, say you cut food stamps in half to about 35 or $40 billion a year. And you replace the other half with food boxes. Well, one, you still have to buy the food. So the government's still not going to save that entire amount. You can say you're cutting it by, the amount that goes out, but the government's still going to have to spend that other half, the other half that you just cut out on the food and send it to people. 2, the bad nutrition that it'll lead to. The bad nutrition that it'll have, and the effect it'll have on nutrition, will cause Medicaid and Medicare spending to spike and increase more than it already is. And more people, there again, would be having to use government health care and taxpayer money to take care of their health needs. If that's the case, then that means, that's not good. We need that spending to come down. Military and healthcare spending are two of the biggest things in our budget. And we need to take care of them. And by putting more people on either of them isn't a great idea at the moment. Unless we have a solution for some kind of single payer system, which I don't see us having the money to do because we just gave $1 trillion back to the billionaires. But all it's going to do is increase spending. It's gonna create a loop that people are already concerned about. People think, oh, if you get on food stamps, you never get off of them. That's a lie. Let's end this with one last bit of fact. The average time a person on food stamps spends on the SNAP program is 9 months. 9 months. That's long enough to have a baby. So it really isn't that long at all. It's most of a year, not quite a year. So, people are on the program for less than a year on average. Yet, some of you down in the comments want to hate on people that are on the program. People are looking for a hand up, not a handout. We're not trying to get one over on you. We just want to eat. And I want people to be able to eat. And at the same time, I want to be able for people to eat healthy enough that they can obtain employment, keep employment, and not have to go on Medicare or Medicaid any earlier than they have to. This has been the Big Ranch Show. I'm your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.